Well, today finds me in north central Massachusetts, near the town of Sunderland. This is Franklin County, which is the top of Massachusetts as you come up the Connecticut River. The state is 3 counties wide here. This is the northernmost. And I'm walking right along Cranberry Pond here. And behind Cranberry Pond is a mountain we're going to climb today called Mount Toby. We're going to be in the Mount Toby State Forest for most of this hike. There's several blazed and unblazed trails that go around this mountain. There's several points of interest. I won't get to them all today. There's several waterfalls. There's some cracks in the rock around here that form some caves. They're not caves that go for miles underground, but cracks that go for, it says 50 yards in the description. Well, caves are fun, but it's an awfully nice day to be above ground, so we're probably going to not avoid it, but we'll pass that over today and get the view from the top. There's supposed to be a fire tower you can climb at least to the bottom of the observer's cabin at the top, and at least you can go up the stairs. But Mount Toby kind of sticks up about almost 1,300 feet above sea level and 800 or 900 feet above the Connecticut River here in north central Massachusetts. It's got some unique geology, and it's supposed to have a great variety of wildflowers and ferns, greater than most of the areas around here. So we can't quite see the summit from here. This is a sub-summit in front of us here. The summit would be over this way behind these pine trees. We're going to be hiking along Cranberry Pond here. I'm probably going to check out the falls on the east side of Mount Toby, which is called Roaring Falls. And then start picking trails to go up over and around the mountain, looking for different forest types. When you change forest types, you usually get a larger variety of wildflowers. So underneath the pines and hemlocks, you get certain flowers. If you get underneath the maples and oaks, you get different flowers. So we'll kind of poke our way around up and down the different parts of this mountain, looking for wildflowers and views and anything else we can find. And this Cranberry Pond is maybe a half-mile long. It's a natural lake. This is mostly sand deposits in this valley here, so it was probably an ice block that melted slower than the rest and created a depression that filled with water when it did melt. Beautiful lake. It's very clear. There's all kinds of turtles out here basking today, and a nice gentle breeze. It's a perfect spring day. This is the very end of April. And we're on this is the northeast corner of this Mount Toby State Forest, and we're going to be heading along the eastern border to Roaring Brook Falls, is what it says on the map. And we're about a third the way there. None of these trails go that many miles before you come to another trail. So I'll get out the map occasionally. I printed it off. And we'll plot our course, but we're basically going to be doing a clockwise loop around this park, and it may end up being more like a figure 8. I believe I can hear the falls, the Roaring Brook Falls, coming soon. The bedrock on Mount Toby and the surrounding knobs is the same one that makes the falls here, I believe. Got a huge sugar maple here. Boy, you can tell they just didn't try to log back here. And let's see, these boulders make a great habitat for wildflowers, mostly because they can't be browsed on easily. And these guys are fading. They're about past peak, but they're easy to photograph when you're looking up at them. So there's our red trillium or purple trillium. Red for a reason. It's meant to attract carrion flies. The color of meat from a dead animal. And they're called Stinking Benjamin for that reason. Not really smelly, but it's not a pleasant smell if you put your nose near one. It doesn't smell great. Here in the sun, soaking up the sun, is our bloodroot. With these really interesting leaves, the way they're so, you know, all these different lobes. And then the flowers are short-lived but beautiful. Sometimes they only bloom for a few days. And we'll just follow our ears to the sound of these falls. There's some massive trees back here. These sugar maples are really big. And this is level ground here. This could have been logged. But boy, this one was never touched. And that one back there is equally big. Right back there. Of course, they have a lot of value when they're still standing for the sugar maple syrup. Okay. Now, the only problem with sunny days is it's hard to get the falls illuminated unless you come right when the sun is shining right at them, if it's even possible. And I think that would be in this case earlier in the day. It's about noontime right now. I will do my best to illustrate them with the lighting we do have right here. So this is the bottom part of the falls, which is a boulder jumble. And then in the shadow behind some boulders is the main flume. We'll go up there and take a look at it. Well, and the trail up the mountain from the waterfalls is blazed in blue. You can see that right there, and it goes right through this boulder garden of this conglomerate. I've seen a lot of conglomerate in Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania. It's not common for it to have such big chunks of rocks that aren't rounded. I meant the stream that moved these rock chunks was moving very quickly and coming tumbling down a steeper mountain for the rocks not to get rounded. And there's just plain old chunks of rock in here. Some of them aren't rounded at all. So very coarse conglomerate, angular in places. And this was not on any descriptions I read of this park, and it's not much of an arch, But it is a natural arch right here. You can see daylight on the other side there. And yes, this chunk right in front of me here just broke off and fell down, but it creates a natural arch nonetheless, which are very common in the Appalachian Plateau, where conglomerate is a common type of rock. I'm not going to go in the caves today, but this is probably just as interesting in its own way. Actually, I think there's a separate trail that comes right up on this side of the arch as well. That's looking down underneath the arch where the sunlight is coming through. And the stream that creates the roaring Brook Falls is what you follow as you climb the ledges above the falls, past that arch. Follow the blue blazes and you'll be on what's called the Tower Road, which is this gravel road. I don't know if they can get vehicles up. It looks like they probably could, four-wheel drive vehicles, to access the fire tower. I'm going to plot my course so far. Today's hike started at the north end of Cranberry Pond. There's an area where fishermen can launch their boats and park. There was plenty of spaces left today. If it was a busy day for fishing, I would have parked up the road just a few tenths of a mile at the parking lot for the state forest. But I wanted to see the Cranberry Pond anyway, so that's where I parked. Took this trail, I think it was blazing blue, but not too many blazes, but you could follow it southward to the Tower Trail, or Tower Road. I was only on that a short distance, and then got on this other trail which had blue blazes right to the Roaring Brook Falls. And that trail had blue blazes coming right up the hill. And now we're right about where it says Tower Road, gradually ascending Mount Toby. So if we do that, the Tower Road comes south, southwest, and then turns around and goes northwest and north to the fire tower at the top. I'm going to keep an eye on my time. I may want to get on the RFT, which is the Robert Frost Trail, and try to get up Roaring Mountain. It looked like you could almost get a natural overlook up there today when I looked at it. We could give it a try if there's time. I think I got the time. And then get back on the Tower Trail to the top of Mount Toby. And those red trilliums were almost like trail markers through this, almost the entire stretch of this hike so far. And we've crested the ridge here. We're not going to the tower quite yet. I'm heading south on the Robert Frost Trail. I just showed that orange triangle. It's a through trail that goes through this area. I think it starts down around Mount Tom area, Skinner State Park, and comes up this way. I'm not that familiar with it, but I know it's a through trail. Well, we're on a sunny side of the mountain now. This is more oak over here and some hickory. That's where you often find these little bluets. And they're awfully pretty, especially when you get a whole hillside of them here. Let's get some in the sun here. Here we go. And I've followed those orange triangles on the Robert Frost Trail to what looks like the old version or the old route of the Robert Frost Trail. The map I have is about 10 years old, and it still shows this is the course, but as you can see, that orange marker was covered in brown paint. I think that's to indicate that this is no longer the trail. But I am up here on Roaring Mountain. I didn't try to go to the very top. I'm going to get a few extra miles in. I think the loop without this would have been about 5 or 6 miles. Got the time to do a little bit more. So not a whole lot up here as far as rocks or wildflowers, but nice open woods and a pretty day to enjoy them. We're going to start heading back towards the main Tower Road, and that's also going to be part of the Robert Frost Trail over the top of Mount Toby to the fire tower. Okay, it looks like the tower is open today, at least up to the landing on the stairwell below the cabin where the observers go. And the way the weather's been the last 6 or 8 months, they're probably going to need to be up there soon. We had rain a couple days ago, but it's dry, the humidity's low, it hasn't leafed out too much yet. So, no observer up there today. But there was a lot of brush fires in the fall of 2024, and there's already been some in the spring of 25. So let's go up here and see what we can see. Alright, well, I didn't count the steps. There are probably 7 or 8 flights of stairs up here. And boy, these pine trees are so tall. You can't quite see past them looking due east, which is what we're doing right now, but we can look northeast. And yes, Monadnock is higher than anything around here, at least in this direction. Way out there above that other peak. I don't have the names of all these other peaks memorized from here, at least. There's Monadnock at 3155, I think. And just to the right of it, I did that in 2022 in April, about this time of year. That's Pack Monadnock and North Pack Monadnock. I did North Pack Monadnock. I came in from the north side. That video is still on this channel. Alright, let's pan around. We're looking north into Vermont. And there's the Connecticut River. Just one little patch of snow on one of the ski trails in the south end of this range. That little pointed peak, that's Haystack Mountain. It's called the Hermitage Ski Area. It's private, it used to be public. And the dome just to the north of it is Mount Snow. We're looking down at Sugarloaf Mountain. It's actually much lower than here, with cliffs. And a great view of the Connecticut River right there. You can drive up to the top there. And the communication equipment is kind of blocking the view to the southwest, but we're looking straight south now. And Mount Tom is easy to pick out from just about any direction. Got those cliffs facing west and northwest, and then a more gradual side to the east. And then the Connecticut River goes right between Mount Tom and this range to the east of it. That's the Seven Sisters, Skinner State Park, over towards Amherst. I think we can see the buildings in Amherst today. The higher buildings, I think there may be apartment buildings, perhaps student housing. I'm not that familiar with Amherst. And then more ridges down into Connecticut. I'm not sure if I can make them out from here. I'm not sure if I can get that figured out without getting a map out, but that's pretty much a 360-degree view with a few interruptions because of the fire tower itself. So if you just come up the Tower Road, which starts from the forestry office, I'll show that on the map at the end of this hike, is never difficult footing. It does go up. You know, you're climbing. There's no hiding from the climb. I'm going to go down some other trails. I'm going to stay on the Robert Frost Trail and get on what's called the telegraph or telephone line trail, which may have been used at one time to run wires up here. And we'll try to record anything else that comes along on our way back to the starting point. Well, the Robert Frost Trail descends Mount Toby mostly in a northerly direction. It's in and out of the telegraph or telephone line trail. Those telephone lines are still there, but they're kind of, there's a lot of trees underneath them. You really don't notice them. But it switchbacks in places. So I wouldn't call this a difficult trail. There was no problem going down it. It wasn't difficult to go down. And we're getting near the end here. We'll either stay on this trail to the end or get on what's called the Hemlock Trail. And maybe we can find a few more wildflowers. I think I got a new one here. I did this on a hike recently, or saw this on a hike recently in Connecticut. And I saw some Solomon seal today. I'm not sure if it was false or regular Solomon seal. That was really common. But these are much smaller and have one little flower than those Solomon seals and false Solomon seals coming up this time of year. And they're dainty, and this is about as big as they're going to get. This is called a Cecil bellwort. And common name is wild oats. I don't know if this is botanically related or just resembles oats. The only oats I'm familiar with are the ones that are in the can, the rolled oats. So never seen them growing in the fields. There's a lot of it right here. Right there. Let's see if that can come into focus. It's a little tricky with wildflowers. The camera doesn't always know what to focus on. There's a whole bunch of it right here. We'll see what else we can record in the next mile or so. I saw a little bit of a hepatica earlier. The lighting wasn't very good. I was waiting to find more with better lighting, and I never did. So we might go back to that patch and see if we can get a better look at it. Meanwhile, these trails are pleasant. They're well marked and pretty easy to follow. It's a very nice park here, and not too busy on a weekday. I saw maybe 6 or 8 other people and 1 porcupine. Well, the cool, clear blue waters of Cranberry Pond, blue today because of the blue sky, are in sight again. We're going to retrace our course on the map and take one last look at some wildflowers. Anywhere you're in a valley around here. It doesn't even have running water, but it does some of the time. You're usually finding this red trillium in the moister soils. And boy, I've seen hundreds of them today. What a pretty flower. Right there. 2 more right there. Another one there. Another one there. They're everywhere. I've been back here almost 6 hours. The hike I did, I probably could have done in half that. I did a lot of looking around as well, as I always do. So again, I parked at Cranberry Pond. There's a boat launch right here with plenty of room, but on a weekend, let the boaters have it. There's parking up the street as well where it says P there. And I followed the Cranberry Pond Trail, which didn't have any names on it, but it was obvious it was the trail, to the Tower Road, and basically did a clockwise loop around this park, but I detoured over to Roaring Brook Falls, came back up that steep rocky area with cliffs. It was pretty interesting. That was the most interesting parts of the hike, I thought. And Tower Road was pleasant with lots of wildflowers along that stream. And the main loop that I would recommend is taking Tower Road to the Robert Frost Trail, which is a pleasant access road to the fire tower. It's pleasant. It doesn't seem like you're on a road. It's just a nice wide trail. That's why I recorded that porcupine. I wanted to check out Roaring Mountain. I thought it might be something interesting up there. This trail here, RFT, that's the Robert Frost Trail. I think they've abandoned that. There's a lot of blowdowns. I tried it for a few minutes. I turned around. It didn't look like it was worth the effort to climb over hundreds of dead hemlock trees. So I came down this way instead. What's called on this map the Robert Frost Bypass, but that is the Robert Frost Trail. It's just, this is an older map. And then I tried to come up to Roaring Mountain on what's showed as the Robert Frost Trail, but those blazes had been kind of blotted out with some brown paint. But it was still, you could still follow it. There were some blowdowns, but nothing like what was on the north end of it. So I explored that area. I didn't see too much worth recording over there. Retraced my steps and then came up the Robert Frost Trail, which is also the Tower Road. Saw that porcupine right in here somewhere. And then went up the tower. Came down the RFT and the telephone line trail. That's all the same thing. They put some good switchbacks in there to keep your knees happy. Stayed on the Robert Frost Trail to where this says 755. And then I got on the Hemlock Trail and took it down to this area around the White Pine Trail, but I'm back down in here right now. So you could do that all without the detour over to Roaring Mountain. You could do that all in 3 hours. It's not that many miles, maybe 4 or 5 miles. I maybe added 2 miles with my ins and outs and backs and forths. So this could be a half-day hike, but I was out here a good 6 hours doing what I do for this channel on a perfect spring day.